sort of a big piece. So you've got the safety piece, and you've got the feeling loved piece, which is a whole thing in of itself. But as you build that self-reliance, one of the key pieces which kids, especially with traumatic backgrounds, struggle with is seeing emotions in other people. So that empathy is one of those big pieces that's difficult to develop.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes, yeah. So we did a lot of work, and some worked and some didn't, or it worked with different kids. So finding what works for each kid is different. We did a whole bunch of little things. One of the things we did was we, of course, had animals. Having a dog, and our dog is the best dog in the world, which we had actually bought when we got the dog when our brother-in-law came to live with us. And we actually essentially trained him as a therapy dog. So she is really great with kids. So she's at the point where in the morning when the kids get up, she will literally walk to the bed of the child that's going to have the worst day and just sit there. So she walked in. The one kid was like, uh-oh, someone's going to have a rough day. And it is. And she was 100% accurate. But after a meltdown or a tantrum, she would come into the room and the child's crying and she would just start licking their face. So, but it's also one, whether it's an animal or a stuffed animal. Another one is you'll have kids who come and they'll attach to a stuffed animal. So one of the ways to develop empathy is take whatever the child is connected to. They may not have a strong connection to you yet, but they love their stuffed rabbit. And so one of the ways we modeled emotions was you would talk to the child's emotions through the rabbit. So they would hold the rabbit and they would say, you would ask oh man, I think that rabbit really loves you. She loves it when you hug him so tightly. Yeah. And I think the rabbit's really proud of you. You had a really good day at school. That must make you feel really good. And if you just went directly and talked to the child and said, I think you had a good day at school today, you must feel really good, they might shut down. And I've seen that happen. But
that's a little too direct for them.
But the rabbit is their rabbit. They love their rabbit. They sleep with the rabbit. So the rabbit can tell them all those things. So we've had lots of conversations through stuffed animals. And then the other one is just modeling emotions. So oftentimes you sort of stop after they do something and you say, all right, well, if someone did that to you, how would that make you feel? We used the little magnets on our refrigerator that had all the different emotion faces on them. And we'd talk about, which ones do you feel today? And they would play those games. But there's lots of little things that you just identify when you're reading a book. Look at the child's face in the book or the drawing and say, what do you think they're thinking right now? What do you think they're feeling? Are they feeling mad? Are they feeling happy? Learning to identify what things are going on in their bodies and then starting to see those things in other people. So putting your hand on their chest and saying, do you feel your heart beating fast if they're really scared or you're worked up? And take some deep breaths. Now put your hand on my heart. How am I beating? Am I beating fast or slow? How do I look? Do I look like I'm calm or that I'm mad? Now, it helps if you're calm at that point.
Right. Don't do it when you're upset with them.
Exactly. But those are ways that you can sort of help them identify, this is how my body feels. This is how it's making me feel. And the biggest thing when they're learning to develop that empathy. So the first key stage of empathy for others is empathy for yourself. So if you can't identify your own emotions, you can't identify someone else's emotions. If you can't learn that it's okay to have emotions. So that's one of the big pieces. So we always said it's okay to feel mad. It's okay to feel frustrated, but it's not okay to hit your brother with a rock.
Right.
Those are two things. And you're not a bad person because you hit your brother with a rock. You just made a bad choice because you were feeling bad.
Yeah, disassociating those types of things. But I do, yeah, you pointed out, you know, the stories, the ways to point out in other people so they can see it, because oftentimes when we see it in other people, we identify it then with ourselves. It's kind of this mirror effect that it takes the weight off of them too, because they're thinking, oh, they're just judging me. But if we look at somebody else and say, well, do you often feel that way, or like the character in the story? And because we used to do read out louds a lot, and our foster kids would really get engrossed. I mean, at age 2 and 3 in these read out louds of novels, because they identified with these characters and the hard places they were in, and we'd talk about those things. So yeah, definitely.